You see it as a 1.01, we were in executive session on personnel and then just had to transfer down to here. And we'll be concluding that discussion after the meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order with that. I do have one already. Okay, thanks. Call the regular meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Agenda item 203. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Leonards, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you very well, thank you. And everybody, for your awareness, everybody, all the others on the board are here in person.
Thank you.
Okay, 2.03, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any questions, discussion about the agenda? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Right, agenda is passed. May I have a motion to approve for 301, motion to approve the minutes from the August 8th meeting in the COW.
Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or corrections, et cetera, to the minutes of either meeting? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, minutes are passed. 4.01 will be brief, because I know Dr. Redding said he had quite a bit of stuff. So I'm going to just say we're going to wish, obviously, we're getting kicked off with another school year pretty soon. Wish everybody a healthy, safe, and super new year. We know everybody has the potential for greatness. The community, I'll say the community expects it and supports and knows that everybody can do it. So off to another good year. You'll jump into that. I know that year over year, last year at this time, there's a whole lot of change, disruption, last minute registrations, et cetera. And I think, I don't know if you're going to talk about that, Dr. Redding, but I believe that we had heard up until now the registrations have been better and a little bit less. I mean, there's always still going to be some where there's last minute things and changes, et cetera, but still, I think, better than last year. Well, so I know that, again, but I'll say that, and this is just me on my soapbox, these last minute changes, people shouldn't necessarily expect that transportation to be ready right away. So might have to make personal adjustments for a period of time until that can all get set up. And I'll just say one other thing. I was in the transportation department the other day, and as I was standing there, the folks were working, and somebody, the same person, kept calling in and calling in and calling in and calling. Literally, I thought I was like a radio host, and I was waiting for caller number 9. So yeah, obviously the comment there is, stop that. It doesn't help, okay? It doesn't help anybody. We know, and so leave a message, and people will get back to you, in your turn, because there's others that are being addressed also. So, all right, Dr. Redding.
Yes, okay. I want to start with the enrollment numbers, and just to give you a sense of how chaotic it has been. 2 weeks ago, when we had a kindergarten report, the number of kindergarten students fully enrolled, was 561. Today, that number is 632. So in the last 2 weeks, 71 students have registered for kindergarten, and they're not all done there yet. So that just gives you, I think, a sense of how things here in the last couple weeks have been in high gear. We did have to add a third section of kindergarten at Stevens. Fortunately, we had a vacant teaching position in that building so we were able to use that position to fill a third section to take care of enrollments there. We are working diligently to stay within the caps that are established. 22 is our district number in kindergarten, and the numbers that I've been looking at, staff has really been moving kids around, making sure that we do what we need to do, and as I mentioned, even adding a class so that we can stay within those numbers. Our overall student enrollment in the district, K to 5, there's 4,067 students as of today. The 6 to 12 on the secondary side, we are at 5,199. If you look at the two middle schools, North has 1,047 students, South has 1,102. We have 476 students at the Career Magnet Center, 2,348 at the high school, for a district enrollment today of 9,266. As I was reviewing the reports that were handed off, there's two other notes of relative to attendance that are noteworthy. In this district, there are 546 students who are being homeschooled by their parents, which I thought was a astounding number of students. And if you talk about facilities, we're probably pretty happy that parents are taking on that responsibility. The piece that disappoints me, though, is that there are still 392 students who are enrolled in cyber charter schools that we're going to be paying our district tuition rate for during the school year. On the staffing side, tonight's agenda has a number of personnel actions. There's 35 new appointments on tonight's agenda. 13 of those are new teachers, food service assistants, teaching assistants, a school psychologist, LPN, the assistant facilities director, custodian, assistant payroll clerk, and secretary, and some other supplemental contracts. On top of that, the August 8th meeting, we had 33 new appointments, and 14 of those were teachers. So hats off to the HR department for the work they've been doing to bring us to as close as we can to full staff. We are not yet at full staff. Some of that is we're holding folks that we've hired from other districts are holding people that we've hired, and there are still some positions. We're probably looking about 10 teaching positions, plus or minus, and depending on whether they're waiting to leave or us holding them for the number of required days. During the last, Monday, Tuesday, and tomorrow, our staff has been back in full force doing their contracted room prep, safety training. Again, I want to give a personal observation to Chief Carter and what he is doing for this district as it relates to a consistent message of what safety looks like within the district. And he has been meeting with all teaching staff, and I know the administrators had training during their retreat on what Act 55 requires us to do as it relates to informing staff of our emergency procedures and lockdown procedures and those types of things. So he's been out doing those sessions, department meetings, curriculum meetings, building meetings, all in anticipation of those 9,266 students arriving on Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, Brian Miller has queued up an announcement, both an email and a phone message that will be going out tomorrow evening, I think, or sometime tomorrow, to remind parents that school is starting on Thursday. And if they have questions, that they can log on to their Sapphire account, find out what their bus stop information looks like, doing those making sure the contact information is up to date, and giving them some tips on how to communicate during the school year. So that information will be going out tomorrow from PR office and Brian Miller. I have begun to schedule parent advisory meetings. The first one is going to be September 27th at noon. We're going to host, CAMS North is going to host that one. And then after September, when the district office is back in place, we'll do those monthly meetings back at the district office. My secretary is actively looking for the new PTO and presidents. Certainly want to make sure that board members have that date, and I'll share that more as we go through. But September 27th for the first meeting of the Parent Advisory Group. Just yesterday, I had a parent wanting information on the Learning and Belonging Committee. I have, I don't have a background on what that committee was like yet, so I will find out what the parent request is, and then we'll go forward on when I know more about that committee and its functions. Speaking of planning, I also have a work group meeting of the policy on our fee schedule for August 30th at 11 o'clock. Board member Sherry Diller and a couple of staff members and I are going to meet to go over some ideas to bring back to the board as it relates to the 707 fee schedule. I want to wrap up my portion tonight by sharing the responses that parents, 1,400 parents, submitted in the climate survey at the end of the school year. And a portion of these 1,400 parents completed the Spanish version. So I have some data on what their responses were. And on the question of my child's school is supportive and inviting place for students, 87% of those parents agreed with that statement. If they completed the Spanish version, 90% of parents thought positively. My child is safe at school, 83%. I feel welcome at school, 86%. Spanish version, 90%. My child is getting a good education at this school, 87%. Spanish, 96%. My child is treated fairly at school, 87%. Spanish, 95%. My child likes his or her teacher, 92%. This school is supportive and inviting place for parents and guardians, 80%. Spanish, 88%. Adults at the school respect cultural diversity, 90%. Adults at the school have high expectations for all children, 83%. And the final question, I would recommend my child's school to other, 82%. Spanish, 94%. Parents are very supportive of what we're doing, and I think it's a testament to the resources that this board has initiated. So we have a set for a great year, and I'm glad to be part of it. That's it.
Wow. It's quite a lot. Any questions? And just one, obviously the policy on the fee schedule, that was the 707.
Yes.
You said that meeting's on August 30. We might have something by the September 13th, I believe, meeting, but we'll have to see it
At least
as
a
the meeting.
committee,
Yeah,
maybe to bring it.
for the cow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
We
That would be
tentative gut target, but
Mhm.
you have to see how things work out of the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. 403, foundation report. I don't see Ms. Lynch. Okay, we'll get that reconnected for next time. 501, members of the audience are invited to comment on agenda items. And a reminder, the whole 3 minutes, et cetera. The disclaimer, this is a reminder that public comment is not a forum for personal attacks, antagonistic behavior, or harassment. Please be advised that you are accountable for any legal ramifications and liability that results from statements that misrepresent the truth, defame individuals, or disclose personal information that is not of public concern. Okay, I have a few here.
Mr. President, may I,
Yes.
before someone speaks, go back to the superintendent's report a second?
Yes, please, go ahead.
This is just a suggestion or a request. That's some of the best information and best news that not only board members, but anybody coming should have. And most of it, I would prefer, if time allowed, to be written down. Copies could be in the lobby, and then you could add to the written thing with statistics and the survey results, and it's such valuable information. I think it deserves written as well as your spoken report.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As we sit up here with big targets in front of us, we hear all those things that the report said we weren't doing good. So let's advertise the positive for a change instead of throwing spears.
Yeah, I agree with everything, but we also have to remember that there were comments and stuff that we, as a board, need to still work on. So I think acknowledge it's a nice balance, especially hearing of some of the last numbers about the percentages of people that would say it's a good place to send their kids, and they would refer us. That's the power of a referral is very important. Okay. All good? All right, so 5.01, Mr. Jordan. Commenting on 701.
I'd like to address my comment to you, Dr. Sherp, because you're the president of the board.
Mhm.
And in pertaining to that 7.1, at our last meeting, one of the board members in their committee report made comments about getting rid of the professionals if they didn't come back with the numbers that the board was happy with. And then when Mr. Varner, who's on here for 7.1, did a talk the last time, he was grilled by a board member about that talk. His body language to me made it seem like he was very uncomfortable with that, and he's an employee of this school, and I don't think that he should be grilled at a public meeting like that. And it's your job as the board president, if some board member is overstepping their bounds, to call them out. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Jordan on 701 and 609.
Good evening. If you read my email last night, this is in regard to 609, Final Settlement Agreement for Special Ed Student. You must, by law, put the dollar amount and the attorney fees in this resolution, and you need to do it tonight, because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to the district attorney, and I'm going to file a complaint against this board because you're in violation of the Sunshine Law. And I have the proof because some of you were on the board when Dana Baker was president. And there's a $20,000 amount for a special ed student, and I actually know that child, and the attorney fees in the amount of $6,000. I want transparency. I don't get it from this board. So I go to the state. I go to the state, to the Auditor General. I go to the federal government. I go a lot of places. I'm fed up. The other item, is about, again, I don't want to hear about cost overruns ever again, because they happened. They happened in Highbridge to a tune of $1 million because of asbestos. Now, I don't know what, and this goes to my husband's point about grilling an employee. We never grilled the employee. We never grilled the construction manager. We had a construction manager. All things worked out. Both schools are still operating. Both schools are beautiful. You need to get several of your schools up to code, and I know this. So I don't want to hear any more about you're going to fire an architect, because I'll go back and see how much you spent on the architect. I know you spent money on plans for schools, and then you turn around and you say you're going to get rid of one of the schools. No, you're not. You're going to fix the schools, and that's what's going to happen. Because if I can fix a school and it's still 2 schools and they're still standing, I know 9 of you can. I know it. So I'm done with this public comment. Please, Mark, include the dollar amount and the attorney fee, because I will go to the district attorney. I am done. There's one time where my name wasn't mentioned in the minutes, and I should have went to the district attorney then, because I attended that meeting. So I'm done. I want the sunshine law observed. Thank you, because I am really watching now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, if there's no more public comment, I have a comment to make.
I don't have any indications of other public comment. So please go ahead.
I want to thank the couple for their statements. I suspect maybe I'm the person on the board who was perceived as grilling Matt Varner. I thought Matt Varner did a very professional explanation of a question I had. It put my mind at ease. I'm very impressed with Matt Varner. When the board is meeting, this is when we do get to ask some questions and get things to our understanding, ascertain whether we have to check other things out. So there are times when we ask administrators questions, and we don't mean it as a grilling. We mean it as trying to do our job as board members. But I wanted to publicly thank Matt Varner. I think he's doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that need to be pulled for separate discussion? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Thank you, and a second.
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 Thank you. Mrs. Gallagher, Beach, and Mr. Leonards. All right. All those in favor of approving the items on the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, consent agenda items are passed. 701, which is the cashier's locker room. One second while I scroll down. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the bids for the cashier's locker room renovation, awarding the contracts as presented?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Raver. All right, discussion, questions about the cashier's locker room? Maybe I'll say anything that's, any questions or discussion that wasn't covered at the cow. Okay. Then we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Dr. Diller,
Yes.
Mr. Fanouken,
Yes.
Ms. Cogler,
Yes.
Mr. Leonards,
Yes.
Mr. McKee,
Yes.
Mr. Norcross, Mr. Raber,
Yes.
Dr. Schur,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Okay, so thank you. And some of these, just as general comments, these items in section 8, as we were, as I was working with the administration on the agenda for the meeting, these obviously are things that we would want to have in place for school start. So instead of this being on the COW, and then on next month's mid-September, we went ahead and pulled it up for tonight. So this wasn't on COW. These items weren't on COW before. So if there's any questions, we'll do kind of like that. Ask Mr. Widman to be able to field any questions that we might have. So with 801, we have a motion to approve the speech and language therapy contract, service contract as presented.
Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second? Okay, any questions?
I just had one question, but it's not, I read, went over everything on 801, 02, and 03, and is there a way that we can kind of look at these as a whole? Because I'm trying, I see a lot of overlap, and I know there's got to be a reason why they're broken out like this, but, is there, can Mr. Woodman, kind of give me some idea of what?
Yep. He can. He'll field the question. He has his microphone in hand.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lenartz, we are short 2 speech language pathologists, and these are 4 different contracts. Mr. Z has gone through all of them. They're all reoccurring contracts too. We were hopeful that we would be full with our speech language pathologists, but some folks only want to work 1 day, some only want to work 2 days. The last one, 8.04, they bill us by hours. That is a company, some are just individual, but each one is a separate contract because they're each a different entity, so they had to be separated out. Hopefully that makes sense.
So I think what I'm hearing then is that, there is an overlap as far as the, what the contract provides, what each of the contracts provide. The difference being that some are for some day or some are another. It's for the coverage, I guess, is why there's split out into 4 separate contracts.
Yes, essentially. That's correct.
Well, they're different people too.
They're different people, different entities. So, Mr. Leonard,
Yeah, they're different people because I mean, like you said, some people can't make it this day, some people can't, so the reason that there's 4 is that so that you have coverage, by, using the different people.
Correct.
right? Yep. It's independent individuals, so it'll be like, you were a speech pathologist and I was, and et cetera, but we're not in the same company. We're just doing it as independent individuals. So, but yeah, to your point, it's all similar type of activities, just different individuals with different coverage.
So have we looked into, have we looked into, being able to consolidate this into perhaps 1 contract or even 2, to maybe get a better rate?
We would love to. This is, if you remember back to when we were working with the psychologist, a lot of districts right now are short speech pathologists. So they're not a lot out there. So, I had to commend Cherie Sullivan for being able to, she had to go find, we tried with 1 company, but they just don't have enough people to work with us, so we had to get some other folks that were willing to, whether they work 1 or 2 days. Basically, we need 10 full days, 5 full days times 2, because we're short 2 people. So we had to go out and find several companies and individuals to meet our students with IEPs, the time that they need to meet with a speech pathologist.
Okay, so there's no companies, one company out there that could, do everything that these four separate contracts are doing by, four separate individuals.
Not that could provide us that enough time, the time that we needed.
Okay.
I just want to say I appreciated the comp with the previous year built into the agenda. I found that helpful. So I forget who made the request from the board, but thanks for the request and thanks for following through on that. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's a nice addition. Mr. Leonards, I know on the phone, did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. I just got a Windows update notice, so I'll snooze that. All right, any other discussions on 801? Okay, all those in favor of approving 801 as presented, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, 801 passes. We have a motion to approve 802.
So moved to approve. Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor of approving 802, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. 802 passes. 803, SLP contract. Motion to approve that, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you. In a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on 803? Okay, all those in favor of approving 803, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, 803 passes, and 804, a motion to approve that contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. And discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of approving 804, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, 804 passes also. 901, personnel actions. May I have a motion to approve the personnel actions as presented?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. You guys are getting us down tonight. Any questions about the personnel actions? Or discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the personnel actions, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, 901 personnel actions are approved. Motion to approve the computer for 902, a motion to approve the computer facilitators as presented.
Move to approve.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions about this? Or comments? Okay. All in favor of approving 902, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 902 passes. 903, a motion to approve the addition of a lunchtime assistant at Marion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. And you can see in the public content section there, about more information about the position. Are there any questions about it? Okay. All in favor of approving 903, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay. 903 passes. So committee reports. I don't know that we really had any committee reports or committees since the last meeting, but we'll start on the right-hand side. Mr. Fanouken, anything for committees or good of the order?
Anything for committees?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Did you have anything, so committee reports, I'll start at the right side tonight. Did you have anything that, from a committee report for 1001 or for the good of the order?
No, I do not.
Okay. Mr. McKee?
No, I do not either.
All right. I keep bobbing my head back and forth. Okay, we're all set. Mr. Norcross?
Career Tech meeting will be Thursday night, and we welcome Mr. McGee as our new Chambersburg representative.
Thank you.
So you'll have to stand up and sing the national anthem.
That'll dismiss the meeting.
All right, so we'll hear a report about how that goes at the next meeting then.
YouTube.
You too. All right, Ms. Gogler.
No.
All right, Mr. Walker.
Nothing.
Dr. Diller.
No committee report, but one comment I'd like to make is I see that there's still some teaching assistants that have not been hired, and I know we struggle to find people to fill those. Hoping that maybe we could put out an all-call to each of the buildings and let them know specifically what teaching assistants are open in the buildings, and maybe we can find some parents, grandparents, relatives that will pass the information along so that we can get those positions filled. I was just thinking that sometimes if we do an all-call to a specific building and let them know specifically what's open in that particular building, sometimes we might find some people who would help us out.
Okay, Dr. Redding's got a hand cramp from writing that down. But all set.
Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Aber, anything?
Nothing for tonight.
Okay, so 11:01, members of the audience invited to comment on non-agenda items. So we'll start in reverse order. Mrs. Jordan. Okay, Mr. Jordan then.
Okay, I'm glad that you brought up the survey tonight, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about this time, and I'm real happy that the results and hopefully, it's not working.
It's not picking up. You're not getting picked up.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay.
Good, thanks.
I wanted to talk about the survey. I'm glad that the survey results were brought out tonight. The first part of it seems to be very good, and I'm very happy about that. And I know there was part of that survey, a different part, that's with some negative things, because Mark had said that. But at the last meeting, we had a board member who basically berated people who sent in emails, and it had to do with faucets and stuff like that. And we had a long dialogue about faucets, and they're old, and they're rusty, and this and that. And the point is, because the faucet works doesn't mean it shouldn't be taken care of, and this is what people seem to have issues with. But we shouldn't have any board members basically saying to the public that it seems like they don't agree with that. I'm sure all of the other board members, or some of the board members, don't agree with that. So those issues like that are much harder to take care of. So I hope that in the future you will put out the negative on the website and what the board tends to do about that, because there's a lot of people that have concerns about that. When I go out in the parking lot, there's nobody here tonight, but other nights when there's a lot of people here, they seem to be concerned about that. And the dirtiness of the school was the same issue. It's not the kids' fault, even though they may be making the mess. It's the responsibility of the school district to make sure that mess is cleaned up. Now, I know that you were short 8 employees for the 16 people that you needed to clean the school up. So, of course, it's going to be less messy. So I guess you hired somebody tonight, it sounded like, janitorial person. So if you fill those positions, that'll help a lot. But one of the things is that I'd like to mention again is that some of the board members feel that one of the problems is with your over 100 people that we don't have, or around 100 people we don't have, is that the school board doesn't want to pay a living wage. They're still back in the old days when you paid less money. There's too much competition in this area with jobs that pay a lot more than the school board's willing to pay, and you're just going to have to bite the bullet and start paying a little more to get this. And I know you have some board approval for that, but apparently not all of them. So anyway, that's when issues like that come up and board members start to say stuff. Again, Dr. Scher, it's your responsibility to call them out and say this isn't the appropriate time to do that. So, and again, I'll get on my old horse again. Board training for all the board members, I feel, would go a long way in making a better functioning board. But I am very pleased about the survey. the first part of the survey. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Jordan?
You'll be getting this tomorrow. Tammy, I'm going to send it to you. I already scanned it. Before I came to the board meeting tonight, I emailed Harrisburg. And I said to all Pennsylvania state lawmakers that I have an email, here's the education reform that I seek from you lawmakers now. And you taught me this, that all funds outside the general fund carry no more than 4.5% total in them. My school board in Chambersburg has chosen to tie up nearly 14% of tax dollars in all the funds outside the general fund. Stop the hoarding of our tax dollars now, please. Make a simple change to that state statute for the benefit of all of us. Please pass my reasoned thoughts over to Governor Josh Shapiro with my continued blessings. In New Jersey, it's 2%. Everything is transparent. I have to literally put in a right to know to find out what's in a committed fund. So I think I already sent this to you. Here's some facts. And you'll get this because I'm scanning it. In 2019-20, you received 31.3% from the state. Today, you received 24. So what happened between a former board and now? So you really need to think about that. Waynesboro, I went into their budget. They received 37% from the state. I know how to read a budget. So they're getting 37 and we're getting 24. So here's what I'm going to read parts of. Here's what I want to know now. How did tax money grow from $206,750 to $3 million in fiscal year 2021? Under your leadership in the committed fund, this is to you, Board President Mark Sharp. How did tax money grow from $838,000 and change to over $3 million in the following year under your leadership? Dana Baker, Ed Norcross, Mike Finucane, and you sat on both these school boards. Money gains some interest, but not the likes of what I can see here. Now, I'm going to mention a lovely lady, and I hope you allow me a few minutes, maybe a minute extra to talk about this lady, because she's a wonderful lady. My husband and I don't like hearing publicly that a wonderful local minister by the name of Renetta Harper is attempting to raise money through her church for playground equipment when there sits over $6.2 million in the committed fund, and I'm not happy you basically forced this minister of God to ask her congregation to do this when the taxpayers should now. We all share in the needed playground equipment, not just a small few from a very small church. Personally, I'm an old woman that's been through too much in her life to really care what other people think of me when teachers, children, and the elderly take priority in my life, and they always have. Teachers taught me as a student. As I was raised, I was told to respect adults and the elderly too. I always gave respect to my parents and my teachers. So you'll get this, and you might have gotten this already, but I'm going to send it again, and I want you to really reflect here. I don't like hearing, I'm for the children, and then I see $6 million sitting there. That is very suspect. I've asked for a state audit of this particular budget, and I hope Harrisburg does it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see any other individuals indicating a desire to make public comment. Okay. So So I'll just do a call out at the end. You'll see 1301 and 1302 has information-only items on policies. I think we also talked about that or mentioned them at the COW. And with that, 1201 meeting is, the regular meeting is adjourned. We will jump right into the committee of the whole. So, Mrs. Dalfer, 1.01 licensee shed agreement for number 1, Mrs. Dalfer.
Sorry, Dr. Sure, I'm just jumping over to the other meeting. So yes, the administration recommends the approval of the licensee shed agreement as presented. This was a new process that we're going through as a part of the facility rental policy. We wanted to try to tighten things up a little bit where we have organizations that wish to put sheds onto the district property. And this was reviewed by Mr. Z's office.
So this is almost, is this part of 707 policy or just kind of
It's an A, it would be similar to.
complementary
Yes,
type of thing?
yeah.
Okay. Not tied to, and it's not tied to the fee schedule, it's just the nature of the topic, it's kind of complementary.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, anybody? Okay, and then this will be for, and I guess obviously Buildings and Grounds will keep track of where the sheds are and all of that kind of normal stuff.
Correct.
Okay, we'll put that on the consent agenda for next time. And 1.02, CSD K-12 Career Readiness Coordinator job description. And Ms. Clever, you have the next, kind of the next 3.
I sure do.
just
Thank
keep
you
on
and good
rolling.
evening. As we continue to replace positions, the creation of new positions, we continue to take the opportunity to update job descriptions, placing each in the new format for consistency. This one, with the assistance of Dr. Long and administration, the K-12 Career Readiness Coordinator job description accurately reflects the essential functions of the position and the required certification, and administration recommends approving the job description that is attached for your review as presented.
Tina, this is just an update of the job duties, not a new position, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And that probably is applicable for all 3 of these, right? The other 2 as well?
Actually, 1.03, that is a new position.
Okay.
That was a new position that was approved with the new budget in June.
So any other questions on 102? Okay, we'll put that on Cal. Let's jump 1 to 103 then.
Okay, this is the post-high school education advisor job description. So I'm sure many of you are like, what? And I've never seen this job before. Basically, this is the college and career advisor position that was proposed and board approved with the budget back in June. Through discussions with administration, again, with Dr. Long's assistance with his administration, and by great discussions during the personnel committee, the committee made a recommendation to rename the position that better suits the job functions of this new position. And therefore, we are changing the college advisor to the post-high school education advisor. Again, it's just more succinct and clear what the vision is for this new position. The new job description was created and it is attached for your review. And again, the administration is recommending approval of the position title change and the new job description as presented.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Clever on this one? And the fact that there isn't any doesn't, not a reflection of anything, other than there's been a lot of great work to get it to this point, so,
Yep, they did a great job helping out.
yeah. Okay, and 104 then. 103 goes to consent agenda, so 104.
104, that is the Assistant Director of Facility Operations. Again, we took advantage of the opportunity with Matt Varner vacating the position and backfilling Mr. Peters upon his retirement. Working with Mr. Varner, which I greatly appreciated, we have updated the Assistant Director of Facility job description, and administration recommends approval as presented.
Any questions on that? Okay, well then, I guess that's the items we had on the cow. Again, so that would go to consent agenda. Again, we had other things that would have been on CAL, but we had chosen to pull them up because needing to get them in place before school started. So that's why the other meeting was a little bit longer in content than what we would typically have. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was getting a thumbs up like you had something. So, all right. So with that, meeting is adjourned. We will again continue our personnel discussion. Mr. Leonards will we'll ping you in a few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.